Okay, so for this video, we are going to talk about the 5 reasons why you should be paying attention, getting excited, buying real estate for the medium term rental. Before I get into that though, a couple quick things. Thanks for watching this content. It means a lot to me. Second, if you are looking for a more curated resource on medium term rentals, I have written a book. That book covers everything. And then it also has checklists and stuff at the end, as well as interviews with people that are doing it. It is called American Nomads: Finding and Renting to Remote Workers. It is linked below. You can find it on Amazon as well. And just so you know, I kind of use the words remote worker and medium term rent interchangeably. If you're also looking for other content resources, my husband and I are active real estate agents in Denver and Colorado Springs. We are taking on new clients. We work with a lot of investors in the Airbnb space, in this medium term space, which is why I talk about it so much. And then also just standard buyers and sellers. So if you have questions, definitely reach out to us. But also, if you're looking for a podcast on this topic, we do a 20-minute weekly podcast about real estate in Denver and Colorado Springs. And just like a lot of the things that I'm going to talk about are covered on that podcast. Let's talk about the 5 reasons you should care about medium-term renters. So a medium-term renter is a person that is looking for a furnished rental and they want it for 30 days or more. You will see on Airbnb sometimes that they define this as 28 days or more. I think that that's a mistake because I call a lot of cities to find out the legality of Airbnb in different cities. And usually what it comes down to is whether or not it's written in the code about whether or not you can rent for 30 days or more. So if you do a 28-day rental, you're going to be outside of the law by 2 days. So it just makes sense to do rentals for 30 days or more. You'll also find that most of the tenant group that you're looking for doesn't want it for 28 days or 30 days. They're usually looking for at least 6 weeks. That is a medium term rental. Again, to recap, furnished and then 30 plus days. Okay, so why should you be excited about it? Well, the first thing is remote work. Part of the reason why I interchange the terms between medium term and remote work is because while there are a couple of different archetypes who would rent out a 30 plus day furnished rental, remote workers are really the exciting ones. And that's because this demographic is growing in a huge way. COVID, for better or worse, forced a point that hadn't been forced in the past, which is that employees want to work from home and employers did not want them to do that. Well, COVID really showed that technology allowed work from home and that not a lot was lost in that exchange. So it is reported that remote workers are 13% more productive than their in-house counterparts. And then also there's a lot of studies going around showing many workers, up to 33%, were threatening to not come back into the office if they were forced to. So even though we're kind of in a weird transition period, and I know there's some hybrid work happening where you're going in for 2 days, it is my strong belief that remote work will just continue to grow and grow and grow, like fully remote work where you're not going into the office. And the reason for this too is just that it's a better situation for the employer as well, because they're not having to pay commercial real estate costs. They're not having to pay utilities. Their IT is probably getting diffused. So it's just like long term, it makes a lot of sense. And so I think that this is going to continue to grow. And with that, I think that you're going to have a lot of people that might have a job located somewhere, but they want to live somewhere else, or they want to live a lot of different places. So they want to see Europe and they want to see Canada and they want to see LA and they want to go down to Tulum. And so you can work for a month or two in these really cool locations. You're still fully employed. There's no hiccup in your job, but you're like on a beach or you're going to ski in the afternoon. For all these reasons, I think this model is going to continue to expand. And I think anyone that's interested in real estate investing should be really paying attention to remote work, how that's impacting it, and really how this medium term model is going to affect things. The second is that it's legal. So a lot of people, when they run Airbnb, they're kind of in a gray area with their city, or they're doing one illegally and they're just counting on the neighbors, not reporting them, or there was it was fully legal and then the city changed its laws or limited it. Then there's complications because you have a furnished property, you're used to this kind of money, and it's like, what am I supposed to do now? Because now I'm doing something illegal or the neighbor has reported me, etc. Well, these 30 plus day rentals tend to be legal. You need to check this by calling your city. You can call your city's planning and zoning department, just ask for the planner of the day and ask what the law is for your city. Most of the time it is allowed a 30+ day rental, or they just don't have anything written in. But most of the time you're going to be totally fine in this type of situation if you're renting for 30 days or more, and you can be furnished. And a lot of people are kind of curious about who would need these kind of models. We talked about it with remote work, but there is demand for this model, and then you really don't need to worry about being outside of the law. So that is attractive. The third reason is that it's easy. I know for myself, I was super excited to get into Airbnb because the money was great, but after 2 or 3 years, it gets really tiresome. There's a lot of communication required and a lot of cleaning, especially if you're doing like a 2 to 4 night stay. You're always having to come in, change the sheets, do this, or hire someone else, and that eats into your costs. So the advantage of this model is that you're really just talking to people when they are trying to get their lease established with you. So you're trying to figure out that, and that's, a couple emails. And then the first day that they're in there, when they're just trying to get oriented, they need to know the Wi-Fi codes, etc. I mean, hopefully you have all of this set up, but if you don't, really, you're just going to be talking to them in the initial onboarding. And then typically they rent, like I said, 6 weeks, but a lot of the times these people will extend their stays. They get complacent, or they like the city and they like the setup. So it's great because for the fourth reason, you get that higher rent, but it's a longer term stay. So again, not as much work, but an elevated price point that they're paying. People want to know all the time, what is this higher rent? It's kind of like Airbnb in the sense that it's seasonal. So you're going to get more from March to October and less from October to February. I usually tell people to estimate like 25 to 30% more. So if I was going to get 1,000 on a place, it's likely that if I do a furnished rental, I'm going to get 1,250 per month on that rental, whereas unfurnished longer, I would get 1,000. And again, to point 3, the beauty of this is that they tend to extend. So they actually become a longer term renter, but with that elevated price point. So I love that. And then finally, Airbnb. The reason why I'm saying Airbnb is because Airbnb is getting very passionate about this trend. They have talked about the fact that up until COVID, only 10% of their bookings were for 28 days or more. Since COVID, they've added 15%. So 25% of their total bookings are for these longer stays, these 28+ day furnished rentals. That tells me, I think Airbnb, I think the people that work for Airbnb are great data scientists. They're smart marketers. And so if they are talking about this, it's a really important trend to pay attention to. They are not modifying parts of their website and customizing it for these longer term rentals if they don't think that that's going to be a heavy component of their business in the future. And since I believe that too, and I've done a lot of research on it, I just think it's a really important trend to pay attention to. All right. I hope that makes sense to you. I hope you're interested in medium-term rentals. We have owned many since 2017, and they've really done well for us, and we like them, and we always encourage our clients to do them, and I have not heard any complaints yet. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please like it. If you want more content like this, please subscribe. I really appreciate it, and I plan to continue to put content out on this channel about this topic. All right. Thank you.